It is very windy, so I'm going to try and speak up, and if it's too windy, I'll do a voiceover. This is a 1,000-mile review on my Tusk D Sport adventure tires. And I currently have darn near exactly 1,000 miles on them. I believe I swapped these on at 9,076 miles, and I'm at 1979 now. But I'll put up the real number on screen right now. Here are what the fronts are looking like. Although I am what I would consider to be a 50-50 rider, where 50% of my miles are on pavement, the other 50% are mixed surfaces, usually just gravel. These tires have pretty much seen, I don't know, 25% gravel, 75% pavement. And I think they're holding up pretty well. They're holding up a lot better than my stock IRC tires. These tires are made in China, for those of you who care about that. And if you're familiar with these dual sport tires, you will see that they share a striking resemblance with the Dunlop D606 tires. I would almost go as far as to say these are really high quality, cheap knockoffs of the D606. These are, or I should say these were, $115 for the pair. Shipped to my door from Rocky Mountain ATV. That's a really good price, but are they worth the price? Well, that's up to you to decide. You can see on the back and the fronts are kind of the same. There's a little bit of cupping, and cupping that goes in this angle is from braking. This angle is from acceleration, so you can see I do a lot heavier braking than acceleration. Front tire looks just about the same. So what are the road manners of these tires? Well, on pavement, these things handle very, very well. Both fully loaded up with all my moto camping gear and empty, like I am right now. There is no, I don't know, there's no sketchiness. There is no question about the grip of these tires on the road. They feel very confidence-inspiring, and you can lean them in kind of far. The caveat I will make is that I probably don't drive as aggressively as some people do. So if you are a much more aggressive rider than I am, your results may vary. I heard of one guy on a live stream in chat, and he said he had 3 of these. First ones were great, second ones were a little less good, and the third ones were pretty crap. And at one time, the front rolled over on him in a corner. So, you know, take that for what you will. I don't know what his tire pressures were at. I don't know how hard he was riding or what the road surface was like. So I can't really comment on his experience very much. So anyone who spent any amount of time on gravel will know that there's more than one kind of a gravel road. You got hard pack, you've got the really fine gravel, you've got the sandy gravel, and then you've got the really big chunky gravel that, like, when they just lay a whole bunch of fresh gravel on the road. These tires like hard pack, and they like the smaller gravel. They are okay on the big fresh gravel, and they're not so great in sand. The rear tire holds up fine, except for on the bigger gravel. It's the front tire here that really suffers in the large gravel and sand, and a lot of people are saying it's due to this, you know, V-shaped pattern. The D606 had the same problem because they're almost identical. That's what people say. They may or may not be true. I haven't had enough tires on this bike to really say for sure. One thing I will say is that this tire washes out really badly. So every time you go to take a corner, you almost have to take it in little bites where you think of it like if you've ever downhill skied and you kind of have to carve left and right to turn and to slow down and bleed off some speed. It's sort of like that, where you have to turn the bike in, let it slide, get upright, turn it in, let it slide, get upright. And a better rider would probably be able to hold it right on that edge of sliding and get around the corner more effectively. But with my skill level, you know, an average rider's skill level, you kind of have to take it in chops, otherwise it's just going to slide and fall over on you. So I will definitely be going with a different front tire after this one's worn out. Otherwise on the road and on other surfaces it's fine. One more thing I will say about it washing out is it is very predictable. I never feel like it just washed out for no reason or at some random time. It was always very progressive, and it lets you know when it's going to start sliding. And that's good. I think it's a good tire to learn that stuff on. And for like, I think the front's 46 or 50 bucks, somewhere in that area. It's a good training tire if you want something that's going to wash out. The back, again, it's really good on most surfaces, and its traction, you know, in the forward-backward direction is really good. I'm very impressed. These things hook up remarkably well. But on the bigger gravel, not so much this. This is the stuff that these tires like the best. But on the bigger chunks of gravel, it slides around all over the place. And when the bike is loaded up full of gear, and all my gear weighs 84 pounds, that includes my riding gear, and then I weigh 140 pounds, these tires are a lot more stable with all that weight. And with all that weight, I was running a 30-30 tire pressure, 30 front and rear. Some people think that's high, but with all that weight and for the longevity of the tires, I think it's better to run them a little higher. Max PSI on these tires is 36. That's for both of them, 36 max PSI. And then I kept them at that 30-30, ran them just like this, and they were horrible, absolutely horrible. They were dancing all over the place and super sketchy. I didn't like it. So now I've dropped it down to about 20 rear and 16 front, and it's better, but still not as good as when it was fully loaded down. So I think the name here, Adventure, it really means it. These what I would consider to be adventure tires. They're good on pavement, they're good on gravel, they're okay on sand. They're good in the wet too, that's the other thing. I've ridden these tires in every single type of terrain except hard rocky terrain and mud. But I've done pavement wet and dry, sand wet and dry, gravel roads wet and dry, and that's, you know, the sandy gravel, mid gravel, and coarse gravel. When these tires are not loaded up completely, they don't handle as well. For example, the front. When you're going down just any road, and then you give the handlebars a push like that, when the bike's fully loaded up, it just goes straight back to center. It's very stable. But when you don't have the bike loaded up, even with the lower tire pressures, if you do that, it'll just kind of go side to side for, I don't know, 3 to 5 cycles. You do it again, it'll go side to side and it'll steady out. So it's not as stable when it's lighter. That's something that I didn't expect. Now, comparing these to the stock tires, the IRC Trails GP22, I would say that those are a much more neutral tire all the way around. They are not as good on pavement, in my opinion. They are not as good on any loose surface, with the exception of they're more consistent across all surfaces. So I definitely see why Honda chose those tires. They don't wash out, they don't really hook up, they don't grip amazingly well, and they don't last very long either. Like, I've put, you know, whatever, the 976 miles on my IRCs, and I don't know, they're probably at 1/3 tread life left. Maybe a little more, but they wear out like crazy quick. These will probably last me, I don't know, 3,000 miles. Maybe more. Depends on how low you like to run your tires. I would not like to run my tires till they're bald. I'd like to, you know, swap them out before they get to the point of being really low on tread. So I think that's all I have to say about these tires. They grip well, the front washes out, they're very well priced. They are unfortunately made in China. They do not come with balance marks, that's another thing. To balance these, I put on these brass weights. And I just put them opposite of the valve stem. And that seems to have balanced them. I do not own a tire balancer, so that was, I'll be honest, a guess or an estimate. And I think they're fairly well balanced. And yeah. If you have any questions about these tires, well, I get one more thing. Do I recommend them? Maybe. I think for $100 for the set, it's worth trying them to see if you'll like them, because they will last you a while. And they aren't bad. I will say they are not bad from my experience. But will I buy them again? And I'm going to say no. Not because they aren't worth it, but because I still want to see what else is out there in the market, because these are only the second set of tires I've had on this bike, so I don't have a lot to compare them to. So take that how you will. And yeah, I guess until next time, see ya.